Hello everyone and welcome to Chip and Chase, the NRL Fan Podcast, brought to you by Steve and Dave. Hey Dave, how you going?
Hi Steve, how are you mate?
Yeah, doing well. This is episode 10 of our podcast and we'll be covering the round 8 results of the 2022 NRL season before previewing the games for round 9. And round 8 proved to be a tricky tipping round. I think I got 4 out of 8.
Yeah, definitely. It did. There was a couple of upsets, I think, and
Big time.
a couple of big scores put on by your usual suspects.
Yes, exactly. Straight off the bat, we'll go with some judiciary news. We've got Carl Lawton, the Manly forward, going to be missing 4 matches. And Jack Whiten for the Raiders, the 5'8", there, out for 2 weeks. So there's a couple of big outs there for a couple of teams. So
I think pretty just punishments. I mean, you just can't be doing that anymore, putting a bloke's neck or head in a dangerous position like that. So, you know, I think they're setting the tone for tackles like that. Just don't do it, boys.
Yeah,
okay?
I couldn't believe listening to the Channel 9 commentary for that game that Phil Gould was like, oh, that's not a send-off, and the bloke didn't even get hurt. It's like, what, we have to have someone break their neck before we worry about sending someone off? Just very irresponsible. But, so I think the judiciary getting it right there. But let's start off with the first game of round 8, and that was the Broncos up against the Sharks. Yep, just getting my graphics as I'm talking. So here it is. The score was 16-7. This was one of the surprises, one of the games that I got wrong in my tipping. I thought the Sharks were a better team than that. They started off all right, leading 7-6 at halftime. Looked like it was going to be a close game. But once again, the Broncos show that they're a better team than a lot of people give them credit for. And the 16,700 strong crowd there at Suncorp Stadium were very pleased to see this awesome effort by the Broncos. Again, players like Katoni Staggs and Adam Reynolds standing up.
Yeah, up the mighty Bronx. I was very impressed with this match. All in all, I thought it was a good game to watch. You said they led 7-6, which it was anyone's game at half time, and I just thought the Bronx never gave up and just kept to the program and done what they wanted to do and got home with the win. Man, Katoni Staggs, geez, he's got some blistering strength and speed when he gets going. This try here, it was. I don't know how he scored that. Like, it was never. He never could have scored that, but he got around the outside man and just went for gold. So.
And this was that game where everyone was going, is it Staggs or is it Talakai who's going to get that spot in the State of Origin New South Wales team? And they went up against one another, and the Broncos really had his measure. Talakai just really wasn't at his best. He had a few good runs and a few important moments, but for the most part, they got up in his face and stopped his momentum, and that's really where he's the most dangerous, when he's got a head of steam up.
100%, mate. That's... got to get up and get to him before he gets going. So that's for sure. They done that, the Bronx, all night. In defence, Blake Brayley topped the tackle count with 51 tackles from the Sharks, which I thought was a good effort. And, man, my standout, Steve, was Tyson Gamble, mate. I thought he was absolutely instrumental in this game to the Broncos winning this. And I remember seeing him in his first game and thinking, this kid's got a bit of aggro to him and a bit of heart to him, and he's going to be a good player. And I thought he had a really, really good game. Hines, on the other hand, was they contained him very well, and he was very quiet all night in this game.
Yeah, exactly. What was the player you mentioned for the Broncos? Gamble?
Tyson Gamble.
Yeah, he's got one of those very punchable faces. As a comment I saw on Twitter, he's one of those players that other players hate to play against because he's just a niggler, and he's just one of those guys that just is in your face and talking non-stop, and typical half. So I know he's a 5'8", but in the halves there, he's in your face and never lets up all game.
Definitely. And I think that he's a little bloke, but he's very aggressive, and He likes to get under their skins. I thought he had an absolutely cracking game from Tyson Gamble.
So well done to Brisbane beating the Sharks there. So next up on Friday night was another one-sided affair, but probably not as one-sided as many people thought it might be. This was the Panthers up against the Titans at the Titans' home ground there at Cbus Super Stadium. 14,102 people there in attendance. It took the Panthers a while to get going. It wasn't until the second half that they actually scored any points. The Titans led 4-0 in what was a pretty dour first half. But to their credit, Panthers, very patient, very clinical, just go through their processes, and they have the players there to be able to come over the top of pretty much anybody. And that's 8 wins in a row to start the season.
Yeah. Look, man. I don't know what was happening in this game. Leading 4-0 at half time, the Titans. I remember actually calling you, Steve, and saying, mate, what is going on? You were at the South Sydney game already, and I told you the score, and you're like, well. But, yeah, it was... Second half was very disappointing from the Titans, I thought. They just couldn't match it with them for the second half. I mean, the class and the finesse of Nathan Cleary, man, he's just winning him these games with everything he touches.
Yeah, it's like the Titans can't play for a full 80 minutes. They're a 40-minute side. Some of the lower teams in the comp are very much that way. They can play for a good half and then they just fall away and don't have the stamina to go with the better teams or the patience. And I watched the shorter version of this game on Fox, and I was surprised at how poorly the Titans played in the second half, considering, as I said, they led 4-0 at the break.
At 4-0, it was like, hang on, the Titans might be able to come up with something, and they just couldn't match it in the second half. Look, Liam Martin and Big Tino topped the tackle count with 40 tackles each, so good effort by those boys. And yeah, like I said to you, mate, my standout was just Cleary. He's just so cool, composed, and he ices everything. So yeah. Now,
did I hear correctly? Did what's his name, the big second rower there for the Titans, Fafita, did he get injured or did something happen to him in this game?
David Fafita?
Yeah.
Mate, I have no mail on that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Just seeing people talking on Supercoach about, we got it, he's gone for 4 weeks or something.
Oh, okay.
So, keep an eye on that one.
Maybe there's an injury we don't know about yet.
Yeah, see what happens there. All right, so that was the Panthers coming up strong against the Titans, who are still woefully underperforming.
Yeah, good work to the Panthers.
All right, next up, the game that I was at, as you mentioned, I was headed up to Gosford, so that's why I didn't get to see much of the Titans-Panthers game. This was the Rabbitohs taking their home game up to the Central Coast Stadium in Gosford with a good crowd of 17,284 there to see the Rabbitohs win 40-22 against the Manly Sea Eagles in what could have been a lot closer game. But as we mentioned at the beginning there was a send-off with Carl Lawton in the 8th minute, dumping South's captain Cameron Murray on his head. Thankfully, Murray is fine and there was no injury from it. But South's putting on 7 tries to Manly's 4. Manly were very gutsy, a very good performance by them to stay in this game for the most part. Kieran Foran had a really good game, and Cherry Evans is always pretty impressive. But South's just doing enough to get over the top of them. 40-22, probably a little bit flattering for the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, well, look, this was a high-scoring game, 66 points scored, so it was quite entertaining. You just saw the drop tackle.
Yeah.
That was really, really bad, man. And, I mean, he's just lucky that this player didn't get injured properly with something bad. So, every time, at first glance, I thought it's not a send-off. Maybe it's a sin bin. But every time I see it again and again, it's a definite send-off for me.
Not only did he lift him and then put him into that dangerous position, but he also drove him down into the ground, which is the real no-no.
Yeah. Look, so the Manly Sea Eagles were down for 71 minutes, one player. I don't even know how they even hung around in this game, Steve.
For so long. It was 18-16 at half-time.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good effort by him. Jake Travojevic, again, topped the tackle count for the Manly Sea Eagles with 50 tackles or whatever. And big George Burgess, I liked his try where he kind of carried three or four over him over the line. So that was impressive to see from big George Burgess. And standouts for me, Cam Murray, Alex
always.
Johnson, and Blake Taff carried for 190 metres and 30 tackles. So
yeah, he always
really
eats
good
up.
effort.
He always eats up those meters when he gets the ball from the fullback position. He never lets anybody down, but he always comes back pretty strong with his tackles, with his takes from catching the ball. So well done to the Rabbitohs, getting a good win there against Manly, who, as we said, were one man down for the majority of the game.
Glory.
Yes, indeed. Next up, we have the Warriors taking on the Raiders in what seriously should have been the Raiders game. They were winning. They had it in the bag. I left to go get some takeaway food for dinner that night and came back listening on the radio going, what? Warriors won? How the hell did that happen? 21-20. It was a penalty goal in the 79th minute by Reece Walsh, and then a 1-point field goal by Sean Johnson in extra time, and the Warriors won a game that the Raiders will be looking at going, how did we lose that? Because they were pretty dominant for the most part. It was to and fro, but it looked like the Raiders had this one in the bag, and for somehow, I don't know, Ricky Stewart in the post-match press conference was like dumbfounded, had no excuses, was just not good enough.
Yeah, I saw the post-game conference with him and White, and tell you what, he wasn't a happy camper. I must say, some of the ref and bunker decisions in this game they left a little bit to be desired with some of the decisions they come up with. But
the high tackle for the penalty in the 79th minute.
Yeah, there was a couple where I just kind of went, oh, okay, whatever. It's not that, but whatever. Rule it however you want it. But and I thought Dejan Arce, Steve.
Oh,
it was on debut for him,
yes.
And he had an absolute cracker of a game.
3 days he turned up before this game to join the Titans, and within 3 days has managed to gel better than any of the other players who have been there all pre-season.
Yep, he killed it. He scored a try, set up one, put on a couple of big shots. So good on the young kid. Only 21 years old too. So good to see what the future has in store for him. Jack Wyden, I thought, was trying, but he scored a good try, a good solo effort that he just kind of went through everyone. And when he scored that, I thought, Raiders look good here, but just wasn't to be, mate, for the Raiders on the day. And very, very happy to see the Warriors get the 2 points.
Yeah, well, this is one of the tips that I got wrong. As we mentioned, another of these teams that only plays for 40 minutes, they led 20-12 at halftime and then couldn't score another point in the second half, the Raiders. So got to find something in that second half. But as you said, well done to the the Warriors, getting a victory there over the Raiders. And that one was played in Redcliffe, the current home ground of the New Zealand Warriors. All right, then we push on to the next game, which was the Bulldogs up against the Roosters. This was one of the big upsets of the round. Woo! Nobody expected the Bulldogs to beat the Roosters, except maybe the most ardent Bulldog supporters. It was a great game to watch. 10-4 they led at halftime, the Bulldogs, and they pretty much shut out the Roosters, who were starting to come strong in the second half, but really it was just a gritty performance by the Bulldogs. Did enough to hold out 16-12.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Look, what an exciting game to watch.
Deserved a bigger crowd, 9,500 at Accor Stadium. Bulldogs. I know Bulldogs are not doing that well at the bottom end of the table, and the Roosters have maybe 6 fans, but you expected more people to show up for this one.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the game deserved it. The quality of the game deserved a bigger crowd too. Look, Dogs just never gave up in this game, and I believe I picked the Chooks in this one, which I'm a bit dirty about because I've been back and forth with the Dogs. I know they're going to come good eventually. I've still got them somehow making the 8 this year, believe it, Steve, in my in my head. But I think it was just a complete performance by the Bulldogs. This is without their skipper Josh Jackson too.
Yeah, out for COVID.
Out. Yeah, and Josh Adokar scored a double. I thought he had an awesome game. Alongside Matt Duffy, who had a much better game at fullback for the Dogs. He's been under a bit of scrutiny the last couple of weeks. And
you notice Suwali, he didn't really touch the ball in the first half. This young winger who everyone's been having big tabs on, saying he's going to be something special. And as soon as he inserted himself into the game in the second half, the Roosters started coming good and started scoring points. So he definitely needs to involve himself a lot more.
Yeah, they started coming good, but I think himself and Joey Manu need a lesson in not celebrating too early. I don't know if you saw at the end there where Manu got it onto Suwali and he thought he'd scored the try, and they were just giving it to the Doggies players, and went to the bunker and his foot was out. So
exactly.
Maybe a lesson to be learnt there for the young kid.
Speaking of Manu, he wasn't as dominant as he has been in recent weeks. He was there was a number of sets where he barely even touched the ball. So he definitely, again, needs to be more involved. So, a big effort by the Bulldogs to defeat the Roosters in that one. All right, so well done to the Bulldogs. We then push on to the next game, which was another big upset, the one that you were bitterly disappointed about. And this one was just turn that off for a second there. The Cowboys defeating the Eels in a whitewash 35-4 in front of a crowd out at Darwin at the TIO Stadium. 6 tries to 1. There are a lot of questions to be asked there of the Eels. Not sure where their heads were at in this game, or whether it was just the Cowboys were too good, but a bitterly disappointing effort for Eels fans from their team.
Look, Steve, I could sit here and tell you all the negatives about this game and what the Eels done wrong and all the positional changes Brad Arthur's made, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about the Cowboys here, who I thought were very, very dominant in this game. Other than our forwards, I mean, the backs on our side are leaving absolutely nothing to be desired for this game anyway. They struggled really hard. Mate, Scott Drinkwater, he's an up-and-coming talent. Wow, he had a massive game, Steve. He was almost in everything and done everything right. And Kyle Fell, the old winger, bagged a couple on the wing too.
He got a hat-trick, actually.
A hat-trick, you're right. He got the third one. So I thought he had an awesome game. And Valentine Holmes done for good. Little Reed Marnie topped the tackle count with 50 tackles. Ryan Madison and Will Penasini both running for 210 metres on a losing team. So
I thought Madison was one of the better forwards for Parramatta. He was dynamic, running the ball, very strong.
He had the strongest game of them for sure.
I was surprised with the commentary, the pronunciation of. We've been calling him Paulo for the longest time. They're calling him Barlow now.
Barlow.
That's the pronunciation that he's requested for his name. But there's obviously a lot of debate about Brad Arthur using his son Jacob at 5'8" and pushing Dylan Brown out to the centres. If Dylan Brown hadn't been playing as well as he had been in the first 4 or 5 rounds, you'd say fair enough. But he was dynamic in those early games that Parramatta were winning quite well. His running game at 5'8" is so dangerous. So to create a weakness to fill a gap you've got to question that. Move. And considering that his son as well, there's obviously questions are going to be asked about that. Surely Parramatta have got some up and coming young centre that they can push into the centres there in place of the injuries that they do have, and leave Dylan Brown at 5'8", or even put Jacob Arthur in the centres. He's tall and maybe he's not fast, but I think Dylan Brown offers more in attack than what Jacob Arthur does.
Look, he definitely would be better at centre. I think he'd go a bit better at centre, even though he's not a centre. He's tall and lanky. But mate, You cannot take one of the 4 and 5/8s out of his position and put him in centre. So you can shuffle your son into the team. I don't know if he's just had a brain snap, Brad Arthur, but I actually just got some mail. I'll just put it onto you right now. Check about this.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. Jake Arthur had a tough night, and his father, coach Brad Arthur, was heavily criticised over the weekend for playing his son at 5'8" over Dylan Brown. Expect to see that change this week. Brown moving back into the halves, and Tom Opacek, who's slightly injured, likely to be named to return out wide in the centres. So
interesting. We'll wait for Team List Tuesday to see if that one has been is confirmed.
Yeah, because someone already named the team for me today, and they reckon Jacob Arthur's in it, but I just got that recently, and that's the mail. So we're all kind of hoping that he just bites the bullet here and puts Dylan Brown back into 5'8".
Yep, wait and see. All right, then next up was the Storm thrashing the Knights 50-2. The previous week, Parramatta did 49-2 against the Knights, so the Knights are only able to kick penalty conversions for the last couple of weeks and nearly having 100 points scored on them in a fortnight. But again, just one of those clinical teams, the Storm, just do everything they need to do, just pile on the points, 9 tries to 0. Pappenhausen getting 6 from 9 in his conversions and then getting a penalty goal himself. It was 26-2 at half-time, and then they just went ahead and piled on the points again in the second half in front of 15,895 very disappointed Newcastle fans at McDonald Jones Stadium.
Yeah, look, it was very sad to see. Look, following Para for a long time, we've been there and done that, and I mean, I'm sure you had your own experiences as a South Sydney supporter, but every team has a down period. And they just look really, really down at the moment. The body language, the look on all their faces. Man, their coach, if I have to see another shot of their coach, I think I'm going to commit suicide, man. Like he looks
he's
like
going to jump out the box.
Be alive, Steve. He really does.
He's devoid of any kind of answers to what's going on. And they just re-signed Kalen Ponga for 5 years. You think
what a big deal.
He's probably looking at himself and going, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, for sure.
Not that he's making a massive effort or a massive involvement himself. He's doing a few interesting and exciting things, but you expect more from your marquee player, and hoping that he'll make the players around him better. But it's just not happening for the Knights at the moment. They're just floundering.
They're just in a really, really big hole, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get themselves out of this hole this season. Look, to their defence, they were playing an informed Melbourne team who just absolutely smashed the Warriors last week. Big David Clemmer impressed me on a losing team, making 45 tackles. But this little number 9, Harry Grant, Steve, I mean, what are we going to do with him? He was absolutely in everything. Yeah. I've never seen a
more
hooker have more of an influence on one game than I had. Man, Vossi said his name over 100 times, man. I swear to God.
Yeah, Xavier Coates getting a hat-trick, Olam getting a double. Even Tepai Moroa got onto the score sheet, scoring an opportunistic try, chasing a kick that bounced off the upright. So, yeah, Storm, actually, just keep going on.
Funny story about Tepai Moroa.
Yeah.
He came on. It was his first run on.
Yeah.
They put a little grubber through.
First touch, he scores.
Then they kicked off. He got it, took the run up, partially dislocated shoulder, went off. He made run for one try, and then they took him off.
Poor bloke. Yeah, let's hope he has a quick recovery.
Unlucky for him, but yeah, man, Munster had a massive game again, Steve-O. And yeah, good. Paps was a bit quieter than usual, I thought, rather than his goal kicking, but what an effort by the Storm, mate.
Massive score there. Then the next game was a very exciting one, and that was the Sunday game against Dragons up against the West Tigers. 12-6 was the final score. This looked like it was going to go down to the wire and possibly be another golden point game for the West Tigers, or a field goal type of game that they did against the Eels and then the Rabbitohs in the last 2 weeks. But 26,110 fans there at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong saw their Dragons continue on with some pretty good form of late. And Ben Hunt is having a great season. And Jaden Sullivan, returning to the team, had scored a try himself. And Lomax, winning try. And Lomax he looked really strong in this game. His defence was very aggressive, and he kicked his 2 conversions as well. Luke Brooks scored the only try for the Tigers, but again, he's looking like he's improving week to week as well.
Yeah, this was a weird one, Steve. It was a good game, but man, it was 2-0 after nearly 60 minutes in this game.
It was 2-0 at half time, and then you went on for, like you said, for 60 minutes with no tries scored. So a very defensive game.
It was, but it was still exciting.
Yeah.
It wasn't boring. We were just waiting for someone to score, and
Who was going to break first?
mean, as the game progressed, it was Dragons that got home. You said little Jaden Sullivan with the try to win it for the Drags. In defence, Jacob Little and Josh Maguire both pulled up 45 tackles each, so impressive from them. And I thought young Alex Twal, Steve, had his best game this season, running for 180 metres and making 33 tackles.
Yeah, he's consistently been one of the Tigers' best forwards each week this season, so good things ahead for him, hopefully.
Yeah, and it just it wasn't the Tigers' day. I told you they couldn't get 3 in a row.
No, I was the same. Got this one right, got that tip correct. Not many, but I got 4 out of 8. I think you were maybe 5 out of 8.
Wow, thanks. Keep tally for me.
All right, and so we reach the point of the episode where we have a look where the ladder is, and you can see the Panthers sitting pretty 8 wins from 8 games, and they 4 and against is pretty good, but not as good as the Storm, who sit very close behind them on 14 points. And then, surprise, surprise, you've got the Cowboys sitting on 3rd place, followed by the Sharks. The Eels drop out of the top 4, only on 4 and against. And then the Rabbitohs creep up to 6th spot, again on 4 and against, with the Roosters and Manly making up the 8. Not far behind, also on 8 points, are the Broncos, the Dragons, and the Warriors. And then at the bottom of the table, all sharing 4 points, is the Titans, the Tigers, the Raiders, the Bulldogs, and the Knights sitting last with minus 114, making them the worst defensive team of the competition.
Excuse me. Gee, I tell you what, 1 to 10 is still pretty close competition.
Tight.
Whoever starts winning games.
Exactly, even the 11th spot there as well. So, yep, well done to all the teams winning this week. And we now push ahead to look at the games coming in round 9. We start with the Thursday. There we go. It's the Rabbitohs up against the Broncos. This is the 7:50 p.m. Thursday game played at a core stadium. These teams came up against each other in round 1 when Adam Reynolds was out due to COVID issues, and he will return to Sydney to play the Rabbitohs in what will be a very familiar location for him, with the home ground there that he's played so many times over so many years. Rabbitohs should get up in this one. They will be disappointed having lost the round 1 clash against the Broncos, but this will be very close because the Broncos are playing really well at the moment.
Yeah, look, this is a bit of a tricky one, this one. We finally get to see Adam Reynolds play against his team. So I think if Broncos are to win this, he'll be the deciding factor. But I will be picking Souths in this one, Steve. Yeah. I think Souths are just going to go on from last week and put them to the sword, the Broncos.
Let's hope so. Okay, next up is the second game of the round, and that is the Raiders up against the Bulldogs. Flip a coin. This is played at GIO Stadium in Canberra, so that might favour them a little bit, but they've been playing pretty poorly, while the Bulldogs are on a high coming up against having beaten the Roosters. So I might go the Bulldogs here.
Yeah, I've tipped the Dogs here, Steve. I think they can go back-to-back now against the Raiders.
Okay, there we go. Then next up is the game that you'll be sweating over, and that is the Panthers up against the Eels. This one is at Bluebet Stadium in Penrith. So you would have to think that Parramatta will be smarting after losing the game against the Cowboys, but I don't think that they'll have enough to beat the Panthers. I am tipping the Panthers here.
Yeah, mate. Look, I've been saying all week, watch Para win this game. We beat teams that are a little bit, we think are a little bit lower, but we perform against the big teams. I've changed my mind because I've got a brain. Unless a miracle happens, I'm tipping the Panthers here.
Okay. Then next up, game 4 of the round is the Sea Eagles up against the West Tigers. This is played at Four Pines Park in Brookvale. 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon game. Should be a cracker crowd out there. West Tigers have improved in recent weeks, even though they've just come off a loss. And Manly, with that one man off for the most of the game against South, also coming off a loss. I do think that Manly will probably be too good for the Tigers in this one. I'll go Manly.
Yeah, look, Tigers beat Parramatta and South, but I think they fluked that, man. It's time for them to get a couple of losses again, and there's no way Manly's going to lose this game after being sorely. They'll probably be hurting after that one, being one man down all game. So yeah, definitely Manly to beat the Tigers in this one.
Okay, then the other Saturday 5:30 p.m. game is the Roosters up against the Titans. This is played in Mackay. They're taking a game out to BB Prince Stadium. So no real home game advantage there, but I think the Roosters, having lost to the Dogs and the Titans playing so poorly that the way they are, I cannot see anything but a Roosters victory
here. Yeah, I'm just going to keep this quick. Roosters as well.
Okay. Then we have the Cowboys up against the Knights. This will be the game of the Knights still poorly, just having a real poor run of things at the moment. And the Cowboys surprising everyone. As I said, sitting pretty in third place. You'd think that the Cowboys would continue powering on and do a demolition of the Knights.
Sorry, Knights. Good night, Knights. Cowboys.
All right, and then next up is another interesting game. This is the Storm up against the Dragons in what will be a 2 p.m. game on Sunday at Amy Park in Melbourne. Melbourne Storm just look so clinical. While the Dragons are on the improve and have surprised a few teams, I don't think that they'll be able to push the Storm anywhere past maybe half time.
Yeah, no, this is Storm all day, mate.
All day Storm, okay. And then the final game of the round is the Sharks up against the Warriors. This is at PointsBet Stadium at Sharks' home ground. While the Sharks are sitting 4th and the Warriors are sitting 11th, I don't think that necessarily tells the tale of this game because the Warriors are on the improve. The Sharks have come off what was probably a shock loss for them, and they'll probably bounce back. I think I'll go the Sharks here.
Yeah, look, man, I'm tipping a Sharks bounce back as well. The Warriors got the win, but it was a rough win, so I think Sharks will. Nico Hines and Moylan will take control of this one and get them back in the winner's circle for sure.
All right, so that is the round 9 preview. The game's coming up. Looking forward to seeing whether the team who wins in these upcoming games. Should be some exciting matchups, maybe some blowouts as well. But
yeah, there's some good matchups there. The first 4 or 5 games.
And as we said, it's getting tight around that bottom of the 8. So not that there's the semis are any time soon. There's a long way to go in this season. But the more wins you can rack up at this point of the season, the more comfortable you'll feel towards the back end. So teams desperate to get their 2 points each week. Well, make sure you get out and support your team if you can. Dave and I will be back next Monday to have a look at these games that we've just previewed and look ahead to the following week. So look forward to talking with you then. Dave, enjoy
round
the weekend.
9, mate. Bring it on. Round 9.
Bring it on, indeed.
Can't wait to see what happens in these games. Thanks for tonight, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching Chip and Chase, the NRL Fan Podcast. I'm Steve. That was Dave. We'll catch you next time. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.